My husband and I have been trying to conceive for about 18 months, and finally, we're so excited to be pregnant. And we're about 9.5 weeks in. Actually, it was Mother's Day, and I started to spot a little bit. And this had been after a couple of really good doctor's visits where we felt like everything was going well. So we were, not really alarmed, but decided to go in, and just over the course of about a week found out that the baby wasn't going to make it and wasn't doing well, and so we lost the baby at 9.5 weeks gestation. I was feeling everything from, it was just an assortment of emotions. It was everything from being just really, really sad to really angry. I had moments where I was like, I just want to drive my car into a tree so I don't have to feel this way anymore. And I think for us it was a little bit different because we had the infertility on top of the miscarriage. So we felt like, I think for me it was like, oh my gosh, how much longer is this it was just this major setback. Are we going to have to go back through all these months of waiting? Because every month that we weren't pregnant for 18 months had been like a little loss. And then here was, the worst nightmare. Finally, it just played out. And so I think just feeling like, not, oh my goodness, we're going to forget this baby and start over, but just we had the devastation of being so hurt and so angry that it hadn't happened, we had lost him, and then feeling like we were going to have to go back through that emotional roller coaster of medical treatments again. I was, pretty much always crying whenever I talked about the baby, or always sad or always angry, and I was just, everything was out there on the surface. And I think that was a little scary for LeGrand because he felt like, here's Sarah falling apart. And so he would try to be strong and try to say encouraging things and just be the strong one. And I interpreted that as that he wasn't grieving because, I would say something and he would say, well, we'll try again. I'd say, well, I can't believe we lost the baby. This is awful. And what if it takes months again? And he would say, well, I just know it'll happen. But it was, everything was happening in my body. Like, I was the one that had to deal with losing the baby, and I was the one that dealt with the hormones going crazy afterwards, and then I was the one that had to go back to the doctor for blood draws. And I guess I felt like he didn't really understand all the time how I was feeling. And it took a while. It took for a few months before, well, maybe not months, but a few weeks before we had kind of a fight about it, actually, and he just kept saying, I do fall apart about this, but I can't fall apart about it in front of you, because then if we're both a mess, who's going to be strong for us? And so I really understood that later, that he was just trying to be strong. But it is hard because you want him to just be upset as you are. She has just been such a huge part of my healing, my connections match. And not just, because I got pregnant so quickly, I felt like during the subsequent pregnancy I was still doing a lot of grief work. And so Susan was just amazing. She listened. She never said any of the cliche responses, you'll have another baby, that's God's way of taking care of nature's mistakes. And, she never said that. It was just a huge relief to talk to Susan and to know somebody else who had been through what I had been through. I had friends who had been through it, but I think the difference between somebody that you're talking to with connections and somebody that you're just friends with is, at least for me, I always felt like, well, I need to ask them how they're doing, and the conversation needs to be a two-way street instead of me just gushing how I feel. And with Susan, when I talked to her, it was just this outlet for me to talk about just the miscarriage. And it just felt really safe and just kind of a relief to just let somebody know how much I felt. Susan had dealt with what I had dealt with. She had also gone through infertility. So when she had her loss, she understood that feeling of, oh my gosh, we've waited for this for months, and now, we can't, I guess, say for sure how long it's going to take. Nobody can, but in this situation, you just don't know how long it's going to be. A lot of people were telling us, it'll be okay, you can have another baby, and I just, when I heard them say that, I just felt sick, because I thought, you don't know what we've gone through. We've done all these medical treatments, and so having Susan specifically understand that it was sort of a double-edged sword was really nice.